So are we serious about this whole taking Greenland thing, or is this just another example of 4D chess negotiating skills and I'm the idiot that can't keep up? Which, look, 100% could be the case. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. It's just every time I try to understand like what exactly the end game is here, I feel like half of the people are saying we 100% are going to take Greenland. We have to have it, and military force is not off the table. And then the other half is saying that is such a ridiculous proposition, I'm not even going to address it. So I'm not entirely sure what to do with that information. I thought today what we would do is run through a couple statements in favor and those against the taking of Greenland, which I should say on the surface is a pretty controversial move, given that Greenland is an autonomous territory of Denmark, a longstanding U.S. ally and, of course, member of NATO. But the one I wanted to start with here is coming from U.S. Representative, Republican Representative Anna Paulina Luna. She's a junior representative and by no means is, foreign policy leader or anything like that in Congress. I don't want to give that impression, but she does make a couple key points here that I think are worth listening to. The first one being, this is not just messaging. Here you go. Give it a listen.
If you're not growing, you're dying. And that's why Greenland is necessary. Do you have colleagues in the House that are against taking Greenland?
No, I don't think so. Well, actually, I take that back. I think that there's been some murmurs of people that think that it might just be messaging, but I would actually argue from a strategic standpoint, Jesse, that would actually be a great location for us, not to mention from what I gather, the people of Greenland are very much supportive of becoming potentially a U.S. territory. And so I'm supportive of it. Why would we not want to expand our message and really have people that are for the America First and pro-American ideology?
Before going to the next one here, I do want to drive home that I haven't seen any polling that suggests that the majority of people in Greenland want to join the United States. In fact, the last one I did see was something like 85% were against that idea. So if you have different data, share it. Let's all learn together. But from my understanding, it is far from a majority that want to join the United States. But shifting over here to American conservative commentators, Charlie Kirk, a notable one here with a large following, posted the other day, quote, "Under Denmark, Greenland has yet to become self-sufficient, partly because properly developing its economy is simply too costly. A recent analysis estimated it would cost about $17 billion to get the island's economy off the ground. That's way too much for Denmark, but for America, this is easily achievable. Above all, the people of Greenland deserve self-determination, but the U.S. should be clear that we have everything to offer Greenland's people and a lot to offer Denmark as well. This isn't win-lose, it's win-win-win." So again, it's kind of an argument in favor. I mean, we've got Representative Luna there talking about how we have shared values with the people of Greenland. And now we've got Charlie Kirk talking about how, hey, this is not a lose situation for anybody. We can all come out on top here if the United States were to take ownership of Greenland. Now, on that note, I think it is worth going, of course, to statements from President Trump talking about this just the other day. Let's hear what he has to say.
We need Greenland, very importantly, for international security. We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can. If you look at Greenland right now, if you look at the waterways, you have Chinese and Russian ships all over the place. And we're not going to be able to do that. We're not relying on Denmark or anybody else to take care of that situation. And we're not talking about peace for the United States. We're talking about world peace. We're talking about international security.
So the thing that stood out to me there was he wasn't talking about national security. He intentionally said international security a couple times, saying this is world peace. We're doing this not for us. This is a selfless move of we're looking out for everyone else. We don't usually frame a lot of things that way, and it's interesting because if I look at some of Vice President Vance's statements last week while he was in Greenland, if I recall, it wasn't as much about that. It was much more focused on U.S. national security. Now, another argument I've heard here is that this whole Greenland thing is just about their resources, their rare earth minerals, which, look, they do have those, but so do we. So you know the Ukraine mineral deal that's been in and out of the news for a while now? I mean, whether or not that comes to fruition is a totally different story, but the reason it's getting so much attention is because rare earth minerals are actually really important to our defense supply chain. Like, we need those to be able to build the guidance systems for our missiles, drones, bombs. They go into our radar, satellites, and quite a bit more. And right now, China actually controls the majority of the world's rare earth supply and over 90% of processing metal and magnet production. See how that maybe could be a problem, especially in the defense space. So the good news here is that USA Rare Earth, a publicly traded company, is building what could be the world's largest rare earth manufacturing facility in Oklahoma. USA Rare Earth controls mining rights to the Round Top deposit in West Texas, which hosts 15 of the 17 rare earth elements and includes all of the heavy rare earth elements. But right now, we're overly dependent, in my personal opinion, on China, especially when we're looking at this from the defense angle. So essentially, Rare Earth USA, from mining to manufacturing, is restoring our rare earth independence, which is a big win for our national security and our country as a whole. If you want to learn more about this organization, check out the link in the description. And thank you so much to Rare Earth USA for sponsoring today's video. So how about that for an ad integration? All right, back here to the comments. We're going to Jesse Waters from Fox News arguing again in favor of taking Greenland. And he kind of takes this approach of tough love, if you will, saying, look, every so often you got to burn some bridges to try to get to a brighter future. Here we go.
And being friendly to the world is what got us in this mess. We're not in high school. We don't need friends. Every country puts their interest first. And when our interests align, we can do business. And when they don't, that's life. If we have to burn down a few bridges with Denmark to take Greenland, we're big boys. We dropped A-bombs on Japan, and now they're our top ally in the Pacific. We may have to burn a bridge to build a big, beautiful new one to the next generation. America's not handcuffed by history. Trump knows what we need to do to make this century America's century. And he's tapping young talent like J.D., Hegseth, and Levitt to keep Manifest Destiny alive.
All right, so any topic where you say, hey, look, we dropped atomic bombs on Japan and now we're friends, that's a bold move. I feel like that's a risky one, to look back at, those events in summer 1945 and say, look at how great this is now. I mean, yes, love our Japanese allies, but that is risky, using that as a positive example. But anyways, of course, Waters points out here, this is more about manifest destiny. This is for our future. And I wanted to play his clip because, of course, Fox News is a massive audience, right? So this is the messaging coming across to people on the right side of the aisle here in the United States. Now, shifting over to the left side of the aisle, if you will, we've got Democratic Senator Chris Coons, who essentially says, this is nuts. I don't even know what to say. Give it a listen.
He said over the weekend, we'll get Greenland. Yeah, 100%. I'll never take military force off the table, but I think there's a good possibility we could do it without military force. Are you saying you don't think he means it? Are you saying
just insane. It's just insane. That's the problem, is that, look, my Republican colleagues say, oh, no, he's just negotiating. He just throws stuff out there. Mm-hmm. But he's the president. And he's threatening a NATO ally with military action. It's insane. It's unmoored. And we could spend all of our time huffing and puffing about how ridiculous it is. But look, your average Trump voter laughs at us and says he's owning the libs. Mm-hmm. And your average middle American says, why are you wasting your time worrying about Greenland? I can't even find it on a map. The challenge is that the Danes, our close NATO allies and partners, are angry, upset, and offended. So are the Canadians, the largest export and business partner for my home state and most home states. So it does have real consequences. Mm-hmm. He is threatening the NATO alliance. He's threatening our closest allies. It does have real world consequences.
Now, of course, I feel like the most important response here is coming from Denmark and Greenland. So we do have a couple responses from them. Mette Frederiksen, my apologies in the pronunciation there, the Prime Minister of Denmark, put out a statement yesterday, or an interview, where she just essentially said, no, not at all, not happening. Here you go.
Yes, but the USA shall not take over Greenland. Greenland belongs to the Greenlanders, and the USA shall not take over Greenland. And that is, of course, also the message that we will be saying together as a group in the next few days. It is our unity, and regardless of what discussions we may have down the road about our Commonwealth and the Greenlandic-Danish relationship, it is clear that with the pressure from the Americans on Greenland in relation to sovereignty, and in relation to borders, and in relation to the future, we must stand together. I think we have done the job well so far, but it is clear that we need to batten down the hatches even more.
The next up here, we have Rasmus Jarlov, a conservative member of parliament in Denmark, talking about this as well. This was just after Vice President Vance's visit to Greenland, where he's pushing back on this, saying we can't just sign over these people that are citizens of Denmark to the United States?
Because we can't do it. We cannot hand over 57,000 of our citizens to become Americans against their will.
And then an interesting question where he was kind of pushed, like, would it actually come to blows? Like, could there be a scenario where Denmark and the United States are actively fighting a war over Greenland?
Do you envision any scenario where, and this is remarkable just to say it out loud, given Denmark and the U.S. are treaty allies, and as I often remind Americans, Denmark fought alongside the U.S. in Afghanistan and lost a great number of soldiers there, in fact, quite a high percentage compared to the size of their military. But can you envision a scenario where U.S. and Danish forces somehow come face-to-face over Greenland?
I certainly hope not, but that's up to the American government. We're not going to back down. We're not going to hand over Greenland, regardless of what type of pressure is applied to us. So I certainly hope it won't come to that. Yeah. There is a lot at stake here, because this is not only a matter of being reasonable to Denmark and Greenland, it is also a matter of the entire Western alliance. Nobody's going to be allied to a country that tries to annex parts of that country's territory. So if the U.S. wants to be a global leader, and we've been very happy to let the U.S. lead the world, but then you have to behave. You can't just attack your allies and try to take their territory while at the same time trying to help Russia to gain more territory in Europe. So we think American foreign policy is going in a very bad direction. Yeah. And we're very, very sad if we are going to lose the great relationship we had with the United States for so many decades. We think it has served both sides, and we're very happy to continue to let the U.S. lead. But this is just this is too much, obviously.
And then we've got the Danish foreign minister here, Lars Rasmussen, who put out a video saying, essentially, hey, can we just talk about this? Like, anything is on the table. What do you guys want? What do you need? How can we get from A to B without, some of this pretty aggressive language and threats? Here you go.
I have a message for our American friends and all others who are listening. Much is being said these days. Many accusations and many allegations have been made. And of course, we are open to criticism. But let me be completely honest. We do not appreciate the tone in which it's being delivered. This is not how you speak to your close allies. And I still consider Denmark and the United States to be close allies. We respect that the United States needs a greater military presence in Greenland, as Vice President Vance mentioned this evening. We, Denmark and Greenland, are very much open to discussing this with you, with an open mind. We still have the defense agreement from 1951. It offers ample opportunity for the United States to have a much stronger military presence in Greenland. If that is what you wish, then let us discuss it. In 1945, the United States had 17 bases and military installations in Greenland with thousands of soldiers. Today, only one American base is left, the one Vice President Vance visited a few hours ago, and something like 200 soldiers. We can do more, much more, within the framework we have today. Let us make use of that, and let us do it together. The Vice President also stated that Denmark has done too little in the Arctic. The other day, he said that the United States has also done too little. And the fact is that we have all been harvesting the peace dividend. We all acted on the assumption that the Arctic was and should be a low-tension area. But that time is over. Status quo is not an option. And that is why we have stepped up as well. With a $1 billion investment in Arctic security just a few weeks ago, an investment that will provide more drones, more ships, more personnel, and more will come later this year. And let us not forget, Greenland is part of NATO. Today, NATO's security guarantee also covers Greenland.
All right, so there we have it. Some arguments in favor of taking Greenland, some opposed to taking Greenland. I'm going to be honest, I feel like we need more clarity from a lot of people on this one. I'm not entirely sure what the next step would be, but it's a hard line at this point, Right now, we've got a NATO ministerial going on, foreign ministerial going on right now with the foreign ministers from all the different NATO countries in Brussels for a couple days. This topic is likely going to come up again because you're talking about the United States and Denmark arguing over territory, autonomous territory of Denmark. But for now, I guess we just kind of wait, see if there's any major steps taken, if negotiations start. I mean, conversations have already been ongoing. It's not like the United States and Denmark aren't talking. So maybe we'll start talking more, or the United States will raise certain issues that Denmark will try to alleviate. But essentially, that's where everything sits. That's all I got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.